Hey guys, Tiara here with Dot Girl Fitness, and today's video is all about how to prepare for medical school interviews. Medical school interviews are an excellent way to put your best foot forward and honestly one of the last opportunities you have to impress medical school admissions committees before they deliberate and decide who will be the future physicians to represent their medical school in the upcoming school year. Now, some will find this process to be a bit intimidating or even scary, but now is not the time to be intimidated, and it's definitely not the time to be scared. It's the time to conquer your fears and to let everyone know why you should be the one to represent their medical school in the coming years as a future physician. This is definitely doable with some time, effort, and preparation, and we'll be going over today how to do just that. First and foremost, what you should be doing to prepare for medical school interviews is to review the frequently asked questions. Although there's no way to truly know what a medical school interviewer will ask on your interview day, there are very frequently asked questions that anyone would want to know when interviewing someone for a position as a future physician. These include questions like, what are your greatest weaknesses? What are your greatest strengths? Who do you look up to? What do you do for fun? How do you handle stress? Are there any physicians that you look up to? Who are some famous physicians that you admire throughout history? And the vague, ominous question, what almost every interviewer asks, regardless of whether or not this interview is for medical school or for any other field.
Tell me about yourself.
Questions like these are very hard to answer on the spot without any kind of preparation. So make sure to talk to your pre-medical advisor and also do a little bit of research on the internet about what are some of the frequently asked questions for medical school interviews. For all of the questions that I've mentioned today as examples, there is something very important to keep in mind with all of your answers. Answers to every single one of these questions should be in the form of an elevator talk answer. One of my favorite professors from undergrad used this phrase all the time when talking to his students about how to present posters at a poster presentation or in any setting where you're meeting somebody for the first time and you want to tell them everything they need to know before you begin to lose their focus. Think about it like this. If you're meeting somebody in the elevator for the first time, you only have about 30 seconds to a minute to let them know whatever you need them to know before they walk out of the elevator and you never see them again. If you treat the answers to your medical school interview questions in this way, then you'll be a lot less likely to ramble while you're giving your answers. Don't get me wrong, you should always be prepared to give a more in-depth answer when prompted, but you want to capture the attention of your audience, in this case, the interviewer, and you want to capture it long enough to keep their focus, and once you have said something within that elevator talk to pique their interest, they will prompt you on what they want to know more about. For example, let's say that I'm having a medical school interview today. My elevator talk may be something like this. Well, my name is Tiara. I'm from Podunk, California, born and raised, where my desire for medicine first came about after I was able to shadow an OBGYN and witness my first delivery. I'm truly passionate about my community, and I desire to give back to underserved communities as a physician, and I have taken steps towards that through my community service and leadership involvement during my time in undergrad. I'm a very goal-oriented, focused, and driven student, and outside of my pursuit for a career in medicine, extracurricular and community service activities, I love spending time with family and friends and playing with my dog every time I have a free moment. I have a unique skill set to bring to your medical school and a strong desire to learn from your well-renowned faculty. It would be an honor to represent your school as one of your medical students, and I'm really thankful that you gave me this opportunity today. You don't want to seem robotic, but you also don't want to ramble or seem like you've never thought of the idea of ever being asked this question before. You want to have a bit of a flow, and you want to have an outline in your head already planned out that includes highlighted points that you want to make sure that your interviewer knows if they don't hear anything else. That way, if your answer is sufficient for them, then you know that you've at least gotten out everything that you wanted them to hear. And if they want to know more, you haven't given them every single aspect of your life, and you now have the ability to expound on many different points that were mentioned in your original elevator talk answer. Try to come up with elevator talk answers for every single potential frequently asked question that a medical school interviewer could ask you. That way you're less likely to get tripped up by any questions. And even if they don't ask you a question in the exact way you saw it in a forum online or how your pre-medical advisor may have put it, you at least have a generalized set of answers to provide your interviewer with, which leaves you looking a lot more prepared and feeling a lot less overwhelmed in the process. My next piece of advice is for you to do your research on the school at which you're interviewing. Another very frequently asked question is, why did you decide to interview with us today? Each medical school has something that makes them unique, something that makes them different from all the other medical schools in the country. For every place that you interview for medical school, you want to make sure that you do your homework. Go to their school website, check out the different things that they offer, find out which of those things is something that interests you and something that you feel comfortable talking about at length with the interviewer if asked. If you're interviewing at a lot of schools in the fall, then make life a lot easier on yourself and make an Excel spreadsheet where you have a column for your medical schools and a column where you explain some of the unique aspects of that medical school. That way you can compare and contrast the different medical schools, and it can not only be helpful during your interview process, but also whenever it comes time to make a decision about where you choose to go for your medical school training. This question not only shows interviewers that you took the time and effort to find out what makes their medical school unique, but you're also helping them figure out what future medical students are looking for in a medical school and how they are meeting the needs of future applicants. So make sure to do your research, get that Excel spreadsheet going, and impress your interviewer on interview day when you know exactly what makes that medical school unique and why that unique quality made you want to go there for an interview that day. The next thing to keep in mind when preparing for your medical school interview is that you should know your resume very, very, very well. Many applicants make the mistake of putting things on their resume that they did throughout their time in undergrad or maybe throughout their graduate studies, but they don't remember the specifics, and therefore they cannot explain in detail what they did to an interviewer on interview day. If it's on your resume, you should be able to explain every single part of that resume item in detail as if you just completed that activity the day before. If it's a research project, especially if your name is on a published paper, you should make sure that you have read that paper very recently, and you should make sure that you can explain that research and the role that you played throughout the research project to the interviewer on interview day. If you are listed as a member or an officer of a club, make sure that you know specifics about that club. Most of my medical school interviews revolved around the research experiences I had, as well as my involvement in community service and leadership. And they asked me to provide extensive details about each of these aspects of my resume. Similarly to how you should have elevator talk answers for each of the frequently asked questions, for everything on your resume, you should have an elevator talk for each item that provides your interview with enough information to where they can decide if they want to prompt you to provide more information about it, or if you've provided enough information for them to continue on in the interview and to ask you future questions. Something else to keep in mind when preparing for your medical school interviews is that you should be up to date with current events and medical news. Very often, medical school interviewers want to make sure that you are a well-rounded student that is up to date with current medical knowledge. The pre-medical advisor at my undergraduate institution suggested that we download the New England Journal of Medicine app. Make sure that whatever source you are getting your medical knowledge from is providing up-to-date material that is non-political in nature. And please make sure if this article is an article you present to the medical school interviewer as being one that you have read, that you have actually read it all the way through, not just the abstract, and that you know enough about this article that you can have a conversation about it with your interviewer. They typically won't ask you about more than maybe one recent journal article that you have read, or maybe a recent book that you have read about something that is medically related. Whichever one they do ask you, you want to make sure that you are prepared with an answer that is based off of factual, up-to-date information that you have read and that you are incredibly knowledgeable about. This will surely impress your medical school interviewer and keep the conversation flowing. Another very important part of every medical school interview that you want to make sure you are providing is a positive outlook. Now is not the time to blame a professor or to badmouth your school. Regardless of whatever situation is brought up, make sure to provide the most positive outlook on whatever hand you were dealt. Medical school and the medical profession as a whole is a field of resiliency. You want to show your medical school interviewers that you have the ability to see the positive and to make a positive out of every situation and out of every hand that has been dealt. Many times as a physician, you will have to be the calm amidst a storm, and you will have to figure out a situation situation until you reach an outcome that is better than the hand you were originally dealt when the patient first arrived into your care. Show your interviewers that even at this stage, you have the ability to be that positive force and that your resiliency is something that can shine through. So keep that in mind and try to keep your interview day as positive as possible. Something you should definitely not forget on interview day is that professional appearance. For men, this typically means a button-down, tie, suit coat, and slacks. For women, this could mean a pantsuit, a skirt suit, or a professional dress with a blazer. Make sure to stay away from colors that really stand out because you want to stand out on this day for who you are and what your character is, not for what you chose to wear on your interview day. Safe color options to keep in mind are black, navy, and a slate gray. If you're nervous about whether or not you should be wearing heels, keep in mind that this day is typically filled with lots of walking because in addition to your interview, you will probably also have a tour. If you feel comfortable in heels, then by all means, go for it. But if those don't make you comfortable, then wear flats. I did on my interview day, and it didn't seem to have any negative effect on my ability to get in. Last but certainly not least, on your medical school interview day, make sure to know your why. When someone asks why you're applying to medical school or why you have decided to pursue a career in medicine, this should be one of your most thoughtful and heartfelt answers of the entire interview. This is not the time to regurgitate whatever you said in your personal statement, although feel free to add some highlights from the personal statement that you feel help you convey why you want to become a physician. This is your time to provide your personalized touch and to share with your interviewer in person and one of the only opportunities that you will have with them why you desire to be on that medical school campus and truly understand why this is so important to you. This is a great time to provide your interviewer with an anecdote. Make sure to take your interviewer along your journey to finding out that this was the right career path for you. Some additional pro tips for interview day that may help you stand out amongst the other applicants is to come prepared on interview day with a folder including several copies of your resume. That way, if something happens, some files get lost, this is a nice touch and shows that regardless of the situation, you are always prepared and ready to go. Also, make sure to maintain good posture, be polite to absolutely everyone you meet from the moment you step on campus, and be yourself. This is your time for your personality to show through and for the interviewers to see who you are, aside from just a name on a piece of paper. You have so much to offer, and you want to make sure that by the time you leave that medical school on interview day, you know that you have given it your all and you have given them your absolute best. I hope this helps you all as you prepare for your medical school interview season. I know it can be a nerve-wracking time, but if you make sure to put that time, effort, and preparation in and to follow some of the things we talked about today, then you'll be ready for interview day. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you like videos about medicine, lifestyle, and fitness, then make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.